And this is technically Figma Wrap, and
Yeah.
we're capping off our edition, our series of Figma Fridays today. And we're thank you for your time for dropping by. And I know it's a little bit late notice that we marketed the event, but thankful for your time sharing with us today, especially on a Friday night. Yeah, people are chilling and heading for the weekend. So yeah, I think there's no need for an introduction. We're friends of Figma Philippines, and I'm hoping that you folks are already in the group. And we are a volunteer group of 7. Yes, and tonight we actually don't have any speakers because most of us are going to be sharing our stuff. But I'll just be kicking things off with a couple of tips. So again, today's edition is called Figma Wrapped. And these are the things that we've learned in 2021. Some of the things are based off of other people, but we have credited them within the slides. And ultimately the goal for this one is to share to you folks like some hacks and tricks that we've learned and what we've eventually used in our workflow. And if you have anything that you want to share, just go ahead and let us know in the chat so that we can bring you up in presenter mode, and maybe we can learn a thing or two about the things that we might have missed out on this year. But yeah, there are a lot of before we go through the slides, there are a lot of things that have happened, a lot of updates that have happened on Figma. And recently, one of the things that Figma shared is the Figma app in iOS and Android is out of beta, so you can actually download it in the App Store or in Google Play. Yeah, so as you can see, I can see the slides here already. It's not like the Figma mirror.
Yeah,
Uh,
pero may mirror din dyan. Like,
yes,
they integrated it na.
yes. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a side function, but one cool thing about this is you don't need to like preempt your phone to open a page. You can just go straight to your prototype and like share whatever it is to your stakeholders, and which is pretty cool. Yeah. Um, okay. Uh, does anyone else want to share anything before we start off with like the list of um, tips that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Just want to read what AJ said. Honestly, here to listen in to the regular users on what I missed out since I use Adobe XD. Tragic, diba? It's okay. They
Adobo
will.
talaga.
We
Eh,
will. We can. I mean, we know it's hard. I know it's hard to convince people to move otherwise. But then, I mean, you know, it. This is also just like a way for us to further appreciate what we currently have. Joke lang. No, no.
Exactly. Tsaka hugot ko yun kasi yung kami, galing kaming XD. And like one of the things that kind of made it hard for us to migrate at the start was because everything was already done in XD. So it's
Mm.
another bulk of work. Yeah. But the thing is,
Nakalipat na kayo, Joby?
naka ano?
Nakalipat na kayo? Switch to Figma?
Well, here's the thing. It's 80% Figma now. 20% are legacy pages that have yet to like push
Congrats.
out. Pero translation wise, it's like once you translate the pages on Figma, it's like smooth sailing from there. It's like honestly, way better. Oh, so good. Actually, hopefully,
True daw, sabi ni Eric.
yeah. Hopefully, the things that that we're gonna share are gonna be helpful with your workflow. Because eventually, these are the things that you might want to use so that whenever you're designing, it's gonna be easier for you and your team. So yeah, let's quickly start. Yun. Um, First tip. So this is pretty unconventional, but one of the things that you can do is to put CSS type color, CSS colors, as in the names like black, red, blue. In this instance, it's coral, light sea green, navy. Just a couple of colors to mention, because since Figma is built for the browser, um, there some of the styles that you can use is actually like based off of CSS. Like And if you convert everything into CSS, this kind of applies. So if you are using brand colors, but your team decided that the UI palette is going to be a little bit different to make sure that the colors that you're using are under like WCAG standards. You probably might be using standard CSS colors. So this is a quick hack for you to change colors on the fly. Yeah. Thanks, Sam, for sharing that because I didn't know this, to be honest.
Yeah, same. Nagulat na lang ako. I mean, in hindsight, it would also make sense given that some of the things in Figma, like for example, auto layout, or even yung sa constraints sort of could relate to CSS concepts like positioning and also like flexbox and stuff. If you're someone who codes as well as designs, parang it makes sense. But then just to connect the dots, like, oh my God, pwede ko palang gamitin yun from CSS,
Oo.
like that knowledge into Figma. Just
Akala ko dati,
nice, nice
pwede
to know.
lang to mga red, blue, black, white. Marami pala
Ah,
siya. Kompleto
yeah,
pala siya doon sa
yeah,
CSS color names.
I
yeah,
think
So,
as long as
ngayon ko lang din
it's
to nalaman.
as long as it's like as long as it's supported within the standards right now, at least
mm,
within the browsers, it's gonna work. Yeah. Pero ano, it's also a quick way for you to change color of the UI in case like your boss tells you, paano pwedeng kulay nito? Tapos, alam mo yung mga bagay na yun. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, next one.
Baka,
Next one. I'm gonna do a little bit of demo here, but this is something that I had fun working on personally. Because I've had branding projects where I had to create different patterns, and it's a little bit of it's pretty tedious when you're doing it on Illustrator because it doesn't have like it's it's not intuitive enough to create functions, although you can do it there. So for simple patterns like these, it's actually pretty fun to do on Figma. So just to share a couple of examples. So um, for shapes that have different patterns, actually what you can do is to let me let me I will share the prototype. Wait, hold on. Let me share the prototype in the chat so that people can see it. You might not be able to edit it, but after the event, we'll upload this as a community file. Yeah. So for example, this one. Um, I'm gonna change this into the first layout. Okay, so right now
Mm.
it's a little bit weird because it's like very uniform. But if you use like a randomizer, so there's this plugin called plug property randomizer where you can set things in a range or in a list. So if you're doing like for example a branding where you have like this type of parang tiles na ano the layout, you can just use this randomizer and then create like funky patterns like this on the fly. Yeah. Also, what you can do is, for example, this one. This is based off of kind of like an Art Nouveau type of layout, and you can actually like shift the things inside and then just come up with um, different patterns. Yeah. So if you want things to be smaller, go ahead and do this. Yeah. And one other thing that you can incorporate here is the Boolean functions. This is something that I had fun doing like earlier this year because you can go crazy with this one. So I have a base shape here, right?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And then I can move the base shape around. So within the component, you can actually move the base shape around. And as you can see,
Ooh.
like the things inside
Wow. Okay.
kind of change. Yeah. So if you're dealing with, for example, tech patterns, for example, you can just do this. Yeah. And then let's try to change it for a bit, right? So I did another shape here just to like do a quick sample. So let's change it to sharp. So it
Ooh.
kind of creates this very weird and funky shape that's happening within. And you can go crazy with this and like try to combine try to combine this with Boolean functions. So let me just create a sample. One thing that you want to note though is I think in in my memory, if my memory serves me correctly, um, Figma is running on OpenGL, so you this is dependent on like your um,
Your RAM
yeah.
or no?
So
Ah,
you
okay.
so you
Like
probably
your
have
processing power, the processing power of your PC or
yeah.
the or device. Okay.
So you probably have to like uh, make sure that things are powerful enough for you to do these things. But yeah, so let me try to do some Boolean functions here. So this is currently in yeah in in
Oh.
Union.
Okay, naka-union.
Yeah, and as you can see, the Boolean functions also affect like the properties outside. Right? So for example, I turned up the radius, and then let's see what happens if I switch it up. So as you can see, like
Oh my god.
the corner radius, the corner radii, they all shifted into its own pattern as well. So you can go ahead and go crazy and do fractal patterns here.
I can see the struggle of. I mean, you're on a Mac, right,
Yeah,
Jelvin?
yeah. This is like
Yeah.
a low tier Mac. So if you have a more powerful machine, it'll probably be more fun for you to do things like that. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's one use case that is not necessarily outside of what we're doing, but you can like visualize it with however you want it to be. And yeah, quick patterns, make it funky, you know? Okay. So
Nice.
next one. And this is pretty obvious, right? So I've shifted. I think a lot of people have shifted from doing presentations in Google Sheets, asan pa ba? Uh, PowerPoint and Keynote. I think a lot of people who use Figma kind of shift.
Prezi.
Yes,
Prezi,
Prezi.
oh my
Yes,
god.
Prezi. Classic.
That thing.
So there are, if it's not obvious yet, there
Yes,
are a couple
Canva.
of things that you can utilize within Figma. So, for example, Smart Animate using GIFs. Although it it does Figma doesn't support videos yet, so I'm hoping that that comes in to play pretty soon. But yeah, um, just wanted to share like this quick prototype that I made for a talk that we did last year. So there's a collaboration and we did a talk about prototyping, and this is kind of like just to show what are the skill sets that I think people need when they're doing a prototype. So it's kind of like a Venn diagram of all these things. So you can get very creative with how you present things and making it pretty interactive. Yeah, she's pretty fun too. Yeah,
Ooh, wow. Prezi who? Prezi na naman.
yeah.
That it reminded me of Prezi. That's cool. Okay.
Prezi is dead. I'm just kidding. No. Yeah, so you can get really funky with this one,
You
and
could actually make that as a community uh, pro, file in itself, Jelvin, like that one. I'm thinking.
actually, yeah, nice idea. Nice idea.
Yeah.
Do people use Canva for presentation? I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, for presentation. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I didn't know. Sorry. I just grab layouts from there. I don't use Canva that much.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm sorry for those power users of Canva. Yes, so that was tip number 3. Go ahead and try using Figma for presentations, because one of the advantages here is when you're doing presentations, as opposed to just looking at one slide, you can actually see the whole thing, and it gives you much more opportunity to actually design your presentation to make it more interactive. Yeah.
Yeah. Tsaka gusto ko na you can arrange your slides in a non-linear fashion sa canvas mo. Just if you have a lot of slides and you want your brain to process it in a like non-linear way while working
Yeah.
on it. It's really
Exactly.
helpful.
And then, like coming from this tip, one thing that you can do, this is something that I personally do, and this is something I want to share, is to embed those prototypes within Behance. So one thing that I found useful with Figma is that you can be more, again, you can make it more interactive when you're communicating about your design process. So for example, what I did here was to show like the letter structure of the logo of my personal brand, just to show you folks like what it looks like on Behance. So it kind of looks like this.
Yeah,
So it's
super
just a,
cool.
yes, thank you, thank you. But it's just a series of images on top of each other, but as you can see, like within here, it's actually a Figma prototype. Yeah, yeah. And then what happens here is I was thinking how can I present the logo in such a way that it shows like the structure and it shows the guides. And one use case that you can think of is also if you're doing a prototype for a product, you can present it on Behance as well so that people can try the product that you've designed. Super helpful. And you can go crazy with it. So, for example, this is like a lockup example where I show like the variations of the logos that I have. Yeah, and it's basically trying to level up your presentations. It's super helpful. Um, you folks can actually try it out. Yeah, I haven't seen any I haven't seen any portfolios or projects in Behance where they utilize Figma yet, as um, other than designing it on Figma. Yeah. So does this work while using the Behance app? Yes, actually, I've tried using it.
I
So
haven't.
I'm hoping I don't want to embarrass myself here, but when I last tried this on my mobile phone, my phone, it works. Wait, hold on.
It breaks or it works?
It
It works.
works. No.
It works. Yeah.
Oh, oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Figma is loading. Can you see?
Ayun. Oo nga.
Oh, wow. Oh
Nice.
my God.
So
Ayun,
let me
cool.
try to.
Oh, ang
Ayun.
galing, ang galing.
Something.
Okay, ano lang talaga, yung hotspots lang siguro maliit. Kasi,
Yeah, actually, that's one of the pointers that you might want to consider is to make sure that the hotspots is a little bit big for you to see both on mobile and on
True.
tablet. Yeah. So gumagana siya.
nice.
Oh, and I remember seeing a friend na yung portfolio website niya din with the case studies, with the typical images na static. Pero sa
Oh,
dulo, meron din siya ng working prototype na naka-wrap
Oh.
sa parang phone frame na embedded sa website, which is really like a fancy. Hindi ko maalala kung sinong friend ko, so I can't share the link, unfortunately. Pero I've seen that used on websites then, which
pero
is
funny siya.
cool.
Yeah, cool and
Mm-mm.
fun.
Especially kung lalaroin mo yung frame around the prototype, like what you did here na may stuff sa
Yeah,
kilid.
yeah.
Is
May
that the whole, paano yung layout niya sa Behance though? Is it the full width ng thing or meron kang fancy background?
So you just have to make sure that the widths of the pictures are consistent. I didn't have a fancy background. So ito
Mm,
yung mga ano, this is the actual
So you literally built it then
Oo.
in ano.
Tapos, ito yung prototypes. It's this one. Ito.
Ah,
And it's this one. Yeah.
yeah,
This is pretty
yeah.
wild because every state you have to like consider. So both in light and dark and all of the lockups just to make that one simple interaction. But it's worth it. I think.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it is worth it. It is pretty cool. Plus you can utilize yung animations ni Figma. Tapos it just you don't need to do you need to do work but you don't need to do that much work kasi does it for you na rin.
Yeah. And also one tip is to like hack the embed code and making sure that it doesn't scroll. So usual embed workflow for those people who embed websites within websites. So just have that in mind so that the prototype doesn't break. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Next one.
drafts sa Behance so you can test it out before publishing. Tama ba? Meron pa rin ba yun?
Yeah. So it took me like a day for me to test things out and making sure that things don't break because I don't want people peeping through my other files in Behance, so I had to isolate them. Yeah, something about that. Okay. Next one is more of a workflow. So as you can see, traditionally how things are being organized on the layers is it's it's a context backslash it's context. So for example, if you have an atomic design structure applied with your design system in Figma, normally you would have something like this where
Hmm.
it's sorted in such a way, but it kind of gets cluttered if it gets too long, right? So what I usually do is to like split them up. Unfortunately, Figma doesn't have a way for you to put spacers in between the pages, um, but you can do this hack where I hope that you folks can see this, but you folks can do this hack where one of the layers is blank so that when you are one of the pages rather is blank so that when you're
Yeah, the
looking at
name of it.
yes,
It looks more clean. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, it doesn't have any,
Page name ang gamit mo dyan.
I don't know,
Anong page name yung nilalagay mo for the blank
Space
page?
ata. Ay, double
space
check.
lang,
It's a space lang.
space lang.
Space lang? Okay.
Yeah.
Kala ko hindi nag-work yung space.
Yeah, so actually back then we used to do minus or
Yeah,
equals,
that's what I do.
yeah.
That's what
Oo.
I've been used to. Kasi ganyan din ako dati with Sketch when I was using it. I don't know why I didn't use space. Maybe it's because I just wanted to depict this is nothing. Do not click this.
Yeah,
Parang
yeah.
ganun. Yeah. But
I
then,
think
that one is also intuitive.
I'm not sure kung kailan, pero dati ba, I think dati bawal yung space. I'm not sure if I'm
Oo yata eh.
Yeah,
Kasi,
yeah, yeah. Ako rin eh. Parang,
but anyway.
that's why people opted for dashes. But then now,
Mm.
pwede na siya.
Pero yeah, mas malinas nga tignan yung space.
Yeah.
yeah. And also,
Nagmumukha tuloy organized yung thing na in like a directory way pero hindi naman. It's just hacks.
yeah. And also like you can use like the arrow keys so that it signifies that it came from this parent page. Yeah. Also for flows. Pero yung sa flows, what happens here is what happens in flows for you to have a space in the flows on this side, you have to create a blank frame
And
and
then name it the space.
space. Yes, and then name it a space.
Ah,
Yeah. And
siya
then
hide mo na lang.
yeah, just duplicate it. Yeah. So that and you can hide it or like decrease the opacity so that it doesn't show within the board.
Yeah.
So this is pretty helpful when you're dealing with a large design library, but and things get a little bit cluttered. So you can add emojis if you want. In our projects within the company, we add emojis so that it's a little bit more visual. Yeah, but it's up to your process within the company or within your team to actually utilize this type of workflow. Some people might find it helpful, right? But if you over-engineer it too much, it might get a little bit cluttered. So it's a
Yeah, I
conversation.
was gonna say, ganun yung naging experience namin. We overdid that technique and it just became even more overwhelming to browse. So parang there's a right balance then of how much hack we would do in the page names.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The most important thing here is when you deal with these things, you communicate with the other designers in the team so that they
Agree.
know um, what
Dapat
happens
lahat on
beyond
the
this.
same page. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. On this note, I just want to mention what we did, or I did get to attend like a design system event before, like with another chapter of Friends of Figma. And what they did was, or what that, or I think it was actually from Figma mismo. Parang the suggestion was to use like numbers naman. So, yung nangyari was instead of it being emojis or something else, parang yung nangyari was it would be like a Dewey Decimal System kind of thing. So again, I would echo na lang na you just need to talk with the people that you're working with a system that works for everyone na hindi magigets nila kaagad. Kasi this one looks aesthetically pleasing pero baka mamaya for other people it might be like oh hindi nila sure paano siya gagawin or baka ma-lost sila. Pero honestly, mas straightforward nga rin to kasi the numbers would also be confusing in a certain way. But yeah, parang yun lang
Yeah.
na-share ko lang na you could also make use of like numbering systems if ever that would be something that works within your team. Yeah.
Tsaka pag nag-numbering ka, medyo mahirap na mag-backtrack kasi
Yeah.
iisa-isa mong i-edit ulit.
Yeah.
So once again, I preach that everyone have their own design managers within the company, design system managers. Sorry.
Yeah. That's a job in itself. We need maintenance. Like we need to maintain it, not just create it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. That was a pretty quick workflow tip. I'm hoping this kind of helps with your documentation because that's one of the most important things in keeping a design system. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Okay. So this is the to-do list is designed by Joey Banks. I'm not sure if you're following him on Twitter, but he's pretty active there. But the thing that I wanted to share here is like creating a table of contents. For some, it might be obvious, but there are certain ways where you can like make it a little bit more beautiful. So normally when you're dealing with a prototype on mobile, for example, right? So you have here like a design, and there are spaces within the phone in the mockup where you can utilize different interactions and have a table of contents within the prototype itself. And this is also helpful if you're just browsing a different state of the page. So you don't. This is so you don't have to like put another flow and like confuse the people who are looking at the prototypes. So it kind of looks like something like this, where for this prototype, I utilized like the top navigation, and it shows you like okay, it switches from light to dark mode, and then it shows you like the states of the prototype. Yeah. Um, so if you're dealing with a product that has a lot of states, so for example, error states, max states, empty states, and all of those things, it's actually pretty helpful to utilize like um, kind of like a prototype helper or a table of
Mm,
contents,
yeah.
so that you don't have to. So when you're presenting, you don't have to like go from one page to another. It's still within the same context. One of the things that I'm hoping Figma would do is to do something like what Zeppelin did, the variants. If you upload your pages and you group those pages into one, it becomes kind of like a variant of the page within the Zeppelin project. Yeah.
Ah,
But for
okay.
now, this is like a hack that you can do. Yeah.
Okay. Yung nung una tinitignan ko 'to, I'm like, what is this like pertaining to? Tapos na-gets ko na it's the prototype helpers kasi yun nga din minsan yung before what I would do would be if for example, one button had to lead to different flows. Like for example, you're doing a sign up flow. Tapos yung one is a success flow and then one is an error flow. Like what if hindi mali yung email address na nilagay nila or what if successful yun? So ang gagawin ko yung button, yung hotspot nun would be like may blank rectangle ako na ilalagay.
Yeah.
Tapos wala siyang fill, wala siyang stroke. Tapos it would just go to different places. So I would still have the same set of screens, but then if I click at a different position in the or a different area of the button, it would go to a different place. So parang wala lang. That was the cleaner or like the hidden way I could make multiple flows from one initial set of flows. But then this would also be helpful as well. At least para mas organized din lahat ng mga bagay-bagay. Yeah, wala
Yeah.
lang. I-share lang.
There are instances where you have to share the prototype with product managers, right? So
Yeah.
so if there are hidden elements there where you only know that it's there, they might get confused why that's happening. So having like a table of contents like this is super helpful. Yeah. I actually learned this when I came into the company. I wasn't
Mm.
utilizing this because I was like doing different flows and per page basis, and this is actually pretty helpful.
Mm. Nice. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually another workflow that you can talk to your team because pretty helpful. Yeah, because us, what happens is flows are strictly for a full flow. So when there is a state within the page, this is what we use.
Yeah.
So next one. Okay.
Yeah.
So have you?
Spacers.
Yes. So this is one concept or one trick that I've been using a lot lately. And the question that I have here is, do you have any experiences where um, do you have any experiences where you've already created a component, but you need to change the spacing of one thing? So naka-auto layout na siya, pero
Yeah.
yung dalawang space sa gitna.
May merong awkward lang na content na hindi mag-fit properly or sa yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So um, this is where spacers can help. So what does a spacer look like? Yeah, let's go to the sample. Okay. So a spacer is just a blank element, 1 pixel by 1 pixel, where things are in auto layout, right? And where is this? So you can do both um, a vertical and a horizontal spacer. I basically place this as a variant, right? And what this does is it helps you space something, basically space something, yeah. And
Okay.
so this is pretty helpful when you are doing if you folks are very strict with how you auto lay out your components. If you're expecting a certain element to like change its width, usually it's within tables, right? So within a table, there might be instances where you've already created the table component, but you need to change the width of the column, for example. So what's going to happen here is just use the spacer element and then change the spacing in the auto layout. Yeah, something like that.
Wait, how did you use it? Like how did you where is it located?
It's here. Yeah, it's at the top. It's just a blank spacer.
Ah, the resizable space. Ah,
Okay. Within the layers,
yeah.
there is a resizable spacer that's
Mm-mm.
within here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Ayun.
there are certain thing make an uh, when you make an element into a component, normally you can change the width and the height inside, right? So you
Mm-mm.
something that is something that you can utilize is the auto layout, because auto layout, even if it's a component, this is a value that you can change. And this is just one of the use cases that I can think of, usually tables, because
Yeah.
so you might use a table and then suddenly you want to put the address in between something, right? But initially, within the component, it's being used for a name. So what you can do is utilize this kind of like a workflow so that you don't need to create another table just for that part. Yeah.
So, yung nire-resize, siya yung nire-resize mo. Tapos sa component siya. Since
Yes.
everything is auto-layouted, you can
Yeah.
just make use of the spacing between items thing to
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
like spaced out more. Ano yung tsura niya like within? May laman
Okay.
ba siya?
So
Endpoint, endpoint.
yeah. So for you to create that, it's actually just a shape. It's it can be square, a 1 by 1 square, right? So let me just do a sample here. It's just a 1 by 1 square,
Okay.
and then create an auto layout for that one. So if it's a vertical spacer, you lay it out vertically. If it's a horizontal spacer, you lay it out horizontally, and
Yeah.
then this becomes a component. Right? Yeah. And then the variant of the spacer, you can utilize that too.
Oh, okay, okay.
So another use case for this one is if you're doing steppers, for example. So let's make a quick stepper. Uh, Sige, auto layout natin to. You're making a quick stepper, but there are instances where you need to move the bar in between. So
Mm-mm.
what you can do is, let me just do things quickly. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. Hindi ko lang auto layout na. So I'm just gonna use this spacer and hide it at the back.
Hmm.
Uh, let's change the color for a bit. So um, usually when you're dealing with wizards like these one, there is a um,
Ay, yung parang yung nagpo-progress siya, yun ba yung gusto mong gawin?
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
So let's make this into a component and try this one. So normally you can change the width of this one, right? So it's gonna be locked. But
yeah.
if the spacer is there, you can just go in and do things.
My God! Progress bars! I can redo my progress bars.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
yeah. So this
Okay.
is one of the use cases that we use within the app. So yeah, you don't have to create like how do you call this? A component on its own when you're on a specific step. Because back then I used to do that, but when auto layout came out, I was like, okay. And then when I learned the spacer tip, it's like it was a little bit easier for me to do steppers like these. Yeah. Huge thanks to Trudeau Lu for sharing this because this was a pretty huge hack that I've been using since April. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you know what I would do for those kinds of things, like for tables, is I would just have a table component, like a table header and a table row, and then I just adjust it accordingly. Like it's fast enough for me to figure out at least. Parang, um, I never like setting this up could make it easier for everyone to be able to like adjust it. So that's good. That is helpful.
Yeah. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, I'm gonna share this to everyone in the community file after the event. So yeah. Um, if you have any questions later, we can go through it just in case. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you also have any tips, feel free to like let us know. Like in the chat, tapos you can come up on stage and then you can also share. Okay lang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just one of the building blocks, right? So
Yeah.
spacers is just manipulating the space. And another building block is to use like the zero frame trick. I'm not sure if you folks know the zero frame trick. It's basically having a part of the auto layout where the height or the width is zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there are elements within the auto layout component that you have where, okay, it's a component, right? And you have everything. Yes, Gleb, yeah. When he shared this on the forums, I was like, okay, mind blown. Usually, think this is pretty helpful when you're dealing with a content heavy component, but you need
Yeah.
to manipulate like the floating
If
elements. So, for example, in CSS, it's kind of like you set it up in absolutes.
yeah, like the position absolute. This is essentially you simulating or like making that in the design without removing auto layout, I think, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Because that's the tricky part kasi with auto layout. Like, if you have it, it's all or nothing, usually with Figma frames. But with having this one, um, you can technically put it there.
yes, technically put it there.
yeah.
Yeah. So just a quick demo of how this can be done because normally when you create a frame, you cannot set it to zero. So the trick there, or at least how I learned it, is you put a line, uh, you group it, and then you turn it into a frame. So then it follows,
Oh.
yeah, it follows whatever it is that the component is doing. Yeah. And it follows whatever the line is doing. So it sets the zero, in this case, zero height. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another way to do that is to just go malayong madaming zero na decimal. So 0.0001.
Okay.
That's enough, like small enough to that Figma will not show it, but you would have the frame still there.
Okay. Okay. Now that I
Yung,
didn't know, because back then it
does it
it showed
work?
it
Oh.
showed a small value. It works. It works. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, it works. What the fuck?
Negligible siya.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. So you have to put an actual number. You have to put an actual value. It doesn't work if you're just 0.0000. It has to be like zero
What?
point
Yeah, it
zero
has
zero
to have a
zero
one.
one or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Cool,
Gotcha.
cool, cool.
I've learned something too.
Yeah.
Pero yun, like the hack here is if you have elements like these where, for example, you want something to stick at the bottom, right? So you put a zero frame. As you can see, this is in auto layout, right? This is auto layout.
Yeah.
The zero frame is at the bottom. So when you try to add content, it's there.
Samaritan still just
Yeah,
the bottom. Peeking.
just there. Yeah. So um, one of the things that you can do as well is for you to avoid placing it outside of the zero frame is when you drag it, hold space, and it will stay within the layer that it's supposed to be in. Yeah. Another trick. And for this one, I placed it as something on the side and the center. Yeah. And you can see Mariah Carey too. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
So how do you utilize something like this? So for one, bookmarks, for example. Yeah. And if you create this into a component, what you can do is create tooltips because it can go outside of the frame. Yeah. So let me drag, making sure that it's not clipped. This can go outside of the frame, right?
Yeah.
But the constraint and the bounding box of the element is still here, so you can move it around like this one.
So it's like simulating as well how comments are attached to specific frames when you put them on the, I mean, at least for this one, it's
Yes,
particularly.
yes.
Yeah.
So I've tried this in a prototype as well. So as long as the element is not clipped, you can have interactions working within the file.
I think I've seen this also use the zero frame hack for to create fancy frames instead of just box with radius na iba-iba, like
Oh.
Yeah.
fancy shapes. Can I don't know how exactly, but I've seen it used for that.
Hmm.
Yep, yep. And actually, I've seen people using like so what's within their zero frame frame is uh, is a component that they made into. So basically, there's an animation that happens, but it's still within the component, and it's pretty. You can utilize this into a lot of things. Yeah, but these are just some of the examples. Yep. Okay. 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 Uh, you guys can get creative. These are just the things that I thought were helpful. Because if there's a certain part of the design where you need to stick something, but you're designing it strictly within the auto layout the constraints of auto layout, this might be a um, good hack that you can do. Yeah. Thank you, Gleb.
Gleb hacks.
He's actually pretty active on Figma forums as well. So.
Yeah. He's been mistaken for being part of Figma for a lot of times, but then he isn't, as far as I know. He
This is
Yes,
not
Yeah.
yet.
he's a very very active community advocate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note na din na you can reach Glib through the Figma Discord, Friends of Figma Discord.
Yeah, I will link the Friends of Figma Discord here in
Yeah,
chat.
actually,
We
people
can
are moving
pres-
to Discord. Yeah, so thank you for that.
yeah.
So this is kind of like since we have building blocks right from a while ago. The next we have spacers and we have a zero frame. Yeah. So one hack that you can do because there is no concept of minimum and maximum width yet within Figma. So you can use um, the zero frame trick where you make the frame into your minimum width. Yes. And then whatever content it is that you have inside, you make it into a maximum width. So I hope I give justice to this explanation. But what happens here is there might be cases where you need to set a component back to its original state. But if you don't have if you don't have a certain width that's being set, it's gonna get into a real funky mess. Right? So for this text block, I actually have a zero frame here. Yeah, but the zero my zero frame is a spacer. Yeah. So what do I do with this? Since you can set the auto layout of the spacer, right? You can set the minimum width of the component. Yeah.
Ooh.
So this comes in handy when you're dealing with marketing websites. For example, you have card layout, and then what happens here is you might try to change the width of certain elements. But what if you want to go back to the minimum width? So um, what happens here is the content. You can just go back to uh, wait, hold on. Wait. Okay. Is it basically just, within the parent frame of the components, you can just hug content and it'll just go back to like the minimum
What you
width.
set it to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And this is pretty helpful when you're dealing with kind of like um, word wraps because there's no concept of word wrapping within Figma yet. It's either it goes to the bounds of the frame
I
of
mean,
the initial frame.
I would think that the word wrapping is really just more rectangular in its application because I think word wrapping applied outside like in actual like when you're developing it, you can technically word wrap around specific shapes, but
Yeah,
then if you want to do it on Figma like to simulate that, you'd have to sadya it, like you have to make it enter ko na lang kasi kunyari ganun siya.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So, ayun, technically this is like a text block component that you can use.
This is useful for like responsive
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 design.
components. Yeah,
Yeah,
and responsive design.
yeah. Just make sure that you set the how do you call this? You set
The width. The width.
the no the auto layout settings correctly because
Ah yeah.
yep, because you might stumble
So
upon
I have a question. So
yes.
ang mangyayari kasi din 'di ba with if you're trying to adjust the min width or rather yeah tama, the minimum width of or minimum height in that for that matter for a particular thing.
Yeah,
Technically you would still add the padding that you add within in the parent ano 'di ba? The parent frame. Kasi right, for example, dito sa this one, like there's what is this? Like
there's still
16,
padding. Yeah,
yeah, there's still padding on the side. So whatever it is that's the width of the spacer for your minimum width, you add or minus 32. Kasi
actually,
tama ba?
a better way to do this is you have let me just copy the space here for it. Yeah. you have the spacer within the component, and you make another frame so that the bounds you make another frame so that the bounds of the what do you call this? Hold on, let me put up here. Okay.
Color. Okay.
Yeah, so when we auto layout this one, um, gawin natin zero lahat. Yeah. So with this trick, technically, uh, you can auto layout the frame inside so that the spacer or the zero width adheres to like the maximum part of the min width kumbaga.
Mm-mm.
So hindi mo na siya kailangang i-ano, hindi mo na siya kailangang uh, i-calculate kumbaga. Yeah.
Ginawa ko yung spacer, ginawa ko yung hack ni Adjo na 0.0001. So ngayon, wala na talaga siyang height at all. Hindi na siya spacer. Hindi na siya 1 pixel spacer. It's literally just nothing.
Yeah.
So, ano na lang siya, pang ayos ng width mo.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
this is also like a good, this is how I normally would like set it up. Pero it just adds like an additional layer lang to think about when setting up Figma frames. But yeah.
Yeah. Super super crucial lang talaga na um tama yung ano, tama yung mga auto layout settings mo so that
Mm-mm.
the hack works. Yeah. Uh, yeah. This is a pretty helpful tip that I got from Vitali. Basically, if you're working with responsive layouts, this is the hack that you can do. Yeah. Okay. So this is actually the next one is actually the last one, right? So this is another tip by Chudo. Uh, so if you can see like the top component, if you're normally when you auto layout a component,
Ah,
what happens there is the order within the layers is reversed. Yeah. So
mm-mm.
how do you hack it in such a way that it it's still the same it's still the same order as the way to as it's still the same order as how you designed it to be. So for example, this one, right? Um, if you're dealing with forms, for example, you'll encounter some instances where within the prototype you need to open the drop down, but the order in the rows within the auto layout component is reversed. Yeah. So what happens here is the thing that you need to do. I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't suggest doing this to everything. Only when you really really need it. So what you need to do uh, is to rotate the children, right? And then rotate the parent. Yeah. So now the order
What?
of
Huh? Wait, anong ginawa mo?
okay okay
Anong ginawa? Nawala na ako when you mentioned
okay.
rotate. Ah,
So
okay, gets.
yes,
You rotated in the.
I rotated the children, and I also rotated the parent, 180
Okay.
degrees. Yeah.
Grabe.
So now, if you can see uh, the order of the elements within the auto layout list is it follows whatever it is that's contextual to what you design. Yeah. It's a I wouldn't recommend doing this to everything because, for example, if you increase the width of this one, it goes to the other side because
Oo.
it's on
Kasi
180
naging.
degrees. Yeah, but
Yeah.
this is helpful. This is helpful when you are doing prototypes because uh, if you're doing prototypes and also you don't want to remove the auto layout what do you call this, the auto layout setting within the content. Yeah.
Mm.
So for example, this one, if I open the drop down, it's gonna show as is. It's gonna show correctly. Yeah. It doesn't go under because in the order of the auto layout originally it's twisted around.
Naka. Yeah.
So this is one
Okay.
hack that you can do. Yeah.
Okay.
And there, the auto layout is also
Still usable.
still there.
It's still something you can arrange.
Yes, yes. And if you can see, uh, normally when you open a drop down, the bounding box increases, right? So I'm also using the zero frame technique here, where the zero frame is actually the drop down. So let me just show the layers. Okay. So normally when you create
Ah.
yes, normally when you create a component, what happens here is uh, if you change if you change the variant, right, the whole size of the component kind of how do you call this? Uh, the whole size of a component follows through. And if you have something like this where you put the zero frame in, it's not going to be as destructive as it
Mhm.
is. And also you can still interact this one. So let me try to open up this one. You can still interact with it actually. Hold on.
Yeah, kasi yung ginagawa ko for mga drop downs like that is yung drop down options is either nakahiwalay na lang. What?
It still works. Yeah.
Wow! Okay,
So as
cool.
long as it
Kasi it's like it has its own scrolling
yeah, it has its own
for sa
scroll.
prototype. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Simplest
And
usage ko nito was just to allow the top layers or yung layers na nasa itaas ng layout to cast shadows to things below kapag nasa
Mm.
yeah,
naka-auto layout yung buong page.
isa
So
pa
that's
yun.
also something simple.
Yeah, because
Kasi annoying siya pag hindi reverse.
yeah, because traditionally, if you if you have shadows with auto layouts, natatabunan siya, di ba? So you
Oo.
Yeah.
reverse the
Kasi it's
order.
technically on top eh.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
have to reverse the order and try to hack it for it. But again,
But
I do
I
not
don't know if
advise
this
doing this
sorry.
all the time. I'll go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know if this also happens to you. If I do that, the rotation, double rotate, doubling, uh, nagsaslow down sa Figma mirror or sa prototype. Is that also the case?
Yeah, because it's rendering it's rendering
it's
double
it's
time.
it's rendering it and then it's rendering it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's rendering
triple
double
Nakiki-compute
render.
time.
yung parang tayo right now finding out about this. Kino-compute din ng Figma Mirror yung paano siya isipin. Ganun.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
in computer graphics, I'm gonna get a little bit technical here. In computer graphics, right, every permutation of the every change of a property of a base element, it calculates it. So
Mm-mm.
if you rotate it 180 children and another 180 in the parent, it calculates another like a transformation. Yeah, yun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All
it's
right.
again pretty helpful when you're presenting. I wouldn't use this in practice though, but it's pretty helpful when you have
To
uh,
know.
yeah, it's pretty helpful when you have things like these when you have to present something, but you don't necessarily want to break whatever it is that's inside the auto layout. Yeah. Use it sparingly, so to speak. Yeah. Um, Actually, with that, those are just a couple of items that we've compiled, like the team compiled, and just wanted to share. And hopefully, these are helpful. Hopefully,
Yeah.
these tips are helpful, and maybe you can use it as a part of your workflow. Yeah, that's pretty much it on our end. Does anyone want to share their own
Yeah,
hacks?
we now open the floor for anyone and everyone to be able to share tips and tricks that they've also like encountered or use for themselves. Like just to what do you call this, just to share with everyone. I guess like if ever Uh, wait. Hello? Everyone's
Yes,
freezing.
you're
Okay.
still here.
Naka-freeze si Andrew, kaya ako kinabahan. Okay. No, no. But, okay. Siguro, like, to add na lang din, hindi ko na nasama dun sa presentation na ginawa ni Jelvin. Pero, something din na does help me, and it's kind of related to the responsive components that we did talk about earlier, was how for components that I build normally, I add like a desktop and a mobile variation for it all the time. Oh, nawala si Andrew. Na-disconnect ata. But yeah, parang yun nangyayari is para lang at least madali na lang siyang i-switch when the time comes, and I don't have kasi access to that breakpoints plugin. I think Jelvin got to like showcase that yung breakpoints plugin, I think. Pero di ba may bayad yon?
Yeah, it's unfortunately paid.
I
I
mean,
think
I mean, it's fine. It's paid. It's just that for the people who don't have the luxury to like get,
to set it up. Yeah.
yeah. So, yun yung ginagawa ko. I'm gonna look for like an example na I can make use or show show. Kasi everything else that I have is from work. Eh. If anyone else would like to like step up, like let us know. Uh, Mag-chat lang kayo tapos bigyan na kayo namin ng presenter access. Or baka si Andrew, meron gusto ni present, or baka si Rain.
Bigyan pa din ako ng files. Kaya nag-crash yung laptop ko bigla
Okay.
kasi hindi niya kinaya yung files ko.
Yeah. Siguro another thing is like Figma tip trick is I use Figma to make my stream overlays. Kasi I
And
stream. So, and it's helpful lang kasi since you have the X and Y axis there, you can just like translate that into the thing. So, it's a helpful way to plot everything without having to wait for it to adjust on the tool of your choice. Like, for example, if OBS or if it's um, Stream Elements or whatever. Kasi minsan, ang bagal or ang dami pang chenes na ginagawa. Tapos madali pa siya na if for example, if ito I will
share screen.
quickly share my screen. Yeah. Windows stream overlays. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So kunyari this one. This one used to say something else. I don't know if you can see it right now, but yeah, this used to say something else. Like it before when I was streaming in Facebook, it would be send me stars or something. This one ina-export ko siya. Nandito na siya sa ilalim. So dun sa files ko, since naka-save up na siya at naka-connect na yun, pag in-update ko to, pag change ko yung text, hello world, binago ko yung text dito. Pag in-export ko siya, mag-update na dun kagad kasi naka-connect siya. But then that's mostly for, it's more of a tip for streaming, not necessarily for Figma. But yun lang. I guess that's one thing pala na I will share. Wait lang, let me share my whole screen. This is one plugin I swear my life to because it's super helpful when I want to make emotions, emojis.
Emotional designs.
Emojis. Like, eto, sorry, it's gonna be on my face. Like yung mga yan, I did not trace those. I did not, like ito, ayan. This is like the Tambayan 404, the server I manage na, state. So, the way that we make emojis kaagad-agad is because of this plugin, which I will search, for example, for this one, si Popcat, or hanap ako ng ibang image mamaya. This one. Remove BG. Yeah. So, si remove BG, yeah, super helpful lang yan. I don't know if you use this. If you don't, I suggest you do. It's super helpful. Kasi, it's free pa naman, medyo usable pa naman yung free tier niya. Kasi parang there's a set number of uses lang and then you have to pay for it. Parang, syempre, kasi it's a, uh, yeah, it's a software. So, parang, para to help put them up, they have to have those premium things. Pero if you just need it quickly to like remove the background, it's smart enough to be able to like remove it. So, maybe I'll try to look for an image actually. Or yan, yung si Jose Merichan actually, nag-remove ako. Maghanap ako ng image. Sino ba? Ano kayang image magandang gamitin? Wait, I have the I have an image that I can use. Dito ko na nalalagay. Dito na lang sa table of contents. Let me upload a random image from here. Kung ano-anong bagay dito. So, kunya.
Kinakabahan dun sa file browse.
Wait, ito. Kunyari, ayan, si, si Prince, anong pangalan niya? Prince Harry,
Prince.
pangalan niya. Ayan, I'll just run, remove VG. Remove VG. Tapos, running remove VG. Tapos, matatanggal na siya kagad. Tapos, tada! It's like, I can edit it na. Tapos, parang, tanan, usable na. I don't have to go into Photoshop, use the one tool, and then remove it. Tapos, it's smart enough na. So, yan. That's just one plugin that you can use. I can link it here. Get the link. This one. So, that's one. I will stop sharing. Naisip ko lang. Yeah, you can also, and I guess my tip would be that you can use Figma for not just design specifically, but yun nga, for your personal usage, aka generating random images on the internet or just creating also social media posts, not necessarily user interfaces or something. So yun lang. Ano pa ba? May other tips pa ba kayo? Share.
Me, I
You should-
discovered a plugin na parang pag kailangan kong gumawa ng mock-up with a logo or design or something, hindi ko na kailangan mag-download ng mock-up on Photoshop because there is a plugin available.
Oh,
Hanapin ko lang yung plugin. Teka.
Nandes ka.
It's free pa. Oh my God.
Oh.
Artboard Studio Mockup. So, teka lang. Let me share my screen.
Ano to? Yung pang yung kunyari, naka 3D chenes siya.
Plugin.
Artboard Studio Master Race. Ano to? Wait nga.
Nung na-discover siya, I was like, oh my God, is this real? Pala nag-share yung mukha.
You don't have to spew.
Oh
Yes,
my
you don't have to
God.
spew the mockups anymore because
So,
they have it.
Yeah. So, parang meron silang items na for the free and they're pretty na. So, parang siyang mobile, but they also have items like packaging.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
So, dati parang I had to make like a mock-up shirt. Something lang. So,
Apparel.
parang hindi ko na
Design tayo ng
kinailangan. Hindi ko na kinailangan mag-download ng parang I didn't have to open Photoshop anymore. I didn't have to export. Ano magandang mock-up? Where are the shirts? Apparel. Ito. So, let's
Oh my
say...
God. Ayan, gagawa na ng merchandise si Red.
Let's make Figma merch.
Friends of
Mabagal lang
Phil-
siya because Figma is slow.
Okay lang yan.
My RAM is struggling.
SpongeBob bikini mock-up. What the hell? Kailangan mo lang ng API when you have to set it up. Oh, pero that's so cool.
I shoot. Anyway, I'll just open it up again. If I paste this one, for example, I think overload yung PC ko. My apologies. Parating na ang bagong laptop. Char!
Ayan, nice!
Yon.
Nice.
Merry Christmas! Dapat nakabukas yung yung plugin para...
Yeah, I forgot that I wasn't supposed to close it. Oops. And let me open it again. So, Artboard Studio Mockup. Ayan. And then you click on... Sorry.
Okay lang, it's okay.
Okay.
You feel the struggle.
You click on the frame na parang your mock-up and then render selected frame. Sorry, ito na lang. Oh my God, pahiya ako. Render. Why won't it? Not compatible. What? Is it because frame ang nilagay ko?
Baka
Dahil
kailangan
yata tatlo
image.
yung frame. Na-select ko.
Wait. This worked before
Baka,
naman na.
try mong try mong i-export or rather copy paste mo siya. So command shift C ka. And then paste it inside the frame.
I will paste the star na lang. Let's keep it
Okay.
basic.
Oh,
Baka
sige. Na-overwhelm
I don't-
siguro.
It's my laptop. Pressure siya.
Nahiya siya.
You can do it, laptop. Kailangan ng cheer. Anyway.
Kasi madaming elements yun. Ayan.
Oh, ayan. Nag-load siya.
Ando na siya.
Oh my God!
Anyway.
Oh my God! Ayan na, meron na tayong
Anyway.
work,
Takes
guys.
time.
Ang ganda ng bag. And then you can
Ang
see
ganda
na
ng
nakaano siya. May shading pa and everything.
Oo
And then,
nga,
if you need to
grabe.
like move it around kagad, you can just move it here. Ayoko na pindutin yung render kasi it's just gonna load again. But,
Galing. Tingnan mo si Santa
super great
Claus, oh.
discovery.
Amazing. Okay.
And it's free.
Meron din
Talaga.
akong compliment dyan na isa pa. Similar-ish. It may overlap yung features, but I'm specifically using it if I have a very specific shape na ng perspective. Hindi ko ma-demo kasi magka-crash yung laptop.
Ano yan?
Kaya
Ano
just
yan?
nag-struggle lang.
I can share
But
for
it's
you, Anjo.
It's also a mock-up plugin. But what I like about this is you can create a custom shape na basta four-cornered shape yata yung requirement. And it can be any angle, parang perspective effect. Tapos isasakto niya yung frame design mo into that custom shape.
Yeah, I searched it and it does look like...
Mag-share na lang ako ng output kasi share yung file ko.
The struggles.
Yeah. Parating din yung laptop.
Yan, mga naka-M1 na yung mga yan.
Grabe. Alam mo ba,
Hindi
like
pa-
yung mga ganitong plugins or yung ganitong ways before, sobrang bare bones niya pa. I still remember when we'd have there was a plugin like this before. Pero tas I would try to use it. Yung parang yun nga, yung nakapatong yung phone tapos it would skew it. Pero it made use of like you had to export the frame pa tapos if you have to update the contents in the frame, you'd have to like set it up again. Basta just very hassle that is. Like now it's just click of a button. Grabe.
Click a button. Oh my God, it's done.
Like,
Oh my God, it's free. Yun talaga.
yeah.
Or
But I like
gamit ko pa ng
the
Photoshop
remove
before.
BG.
Yeah. Wala. Yun talaga, I just keep using that for random things. It has never, no. It has failed me sometimes when the thing is too small or like masyadong kunyari this one, like masyadong malapit yung kamay ko, for example, dun sa edges or something. I just add the rectangular background to it. Tapos I just try to trick the AI to do the work pa rin for me by adding like more background to remove. But yeah. Yan. Ang cool nito na-download ko na both yung sabi ninyo. Wala kasi mga ganyan since wala rin naman ako mapapakita ng mga designs to put in mock-ups of phones or mobile. NDA gang. Wala akong mapapakita. Okay. Ano
To
pa?
also share pala.
Go.
I just
Go,
found
Rain.
Yes.
okay, useful din kasi for others. Sige, I'll try to share my screen. Hopefully hindi ako out. Yeah. And guys,
Ayong.
Yes.
Ayan.
yeah, okay. One is very for me, especially very low is, and then you want to divide it parang individual. So what I also use plugin ni sa text split. See plugins ni sa text splitter. This is free. So
Gamit ko din yan.
oo, split din. Yan, split.
Download ko yan.
Ganyan na siya. Yan. And then if for content na you want to remove the duplicates. Meron din siya. So, remove duplicates. Yan. So, mabawas siya. And then, for this one naman, pag gusto mo siyang i-combine. So, plugin. Join. So, yan. Yun. So, very helpful lang. Parang, in case you want to break certain content, no? Or manage yung content. Yan. So, very helpful for me. Yeah, that's about it. And then, meron pang mga ibang hindi ko pa lang na-try yung ibang options or ibang features niya. But, feel din siguro. But, yeah. Yung mga shuffle, sort by length, reverse. Yan, hindi ko pa na-try yung iba. Probably maging useful din sa other projects. Yeah, so that's about it.
Ngayon ko lang narinig yan.
Hmm.
Yung create component set function ba ginagamit nyo rin?
Yung what? Create component set?
Yes.
Yeah. So, ayun, I guess fun fact for people. I guess I'll share na lang my screen so that like people can share. Ayan. Let me see. Ayan. So, sorry, CRE ba yung nakita? Saan na yung components? Maghanap ako ng pwede natin gawing component. Ayan, ito. Kakopy ko ko yung laman nito. Tapos gawin ko siyang if you did not know before, you will now know. So, kunyari, you have a bunch of frames. Tapos, kailangan mo siyang gamitin. Kailangan mo siyang ipagsama-sama. So, pwede mong pindutin lang ito dito sa top, sa components. And then you go like, create component set. Or you can create multiple components if you want it to be all separate sa kanila. Create component set is what Figma calls the variants. So it automatically puts them all together into one place. Ayun. So you don't have to go like select everything, create multiple components, and then combine to create variants. You can just click, click, click. So ayun, that's one way. Another thing na baka hindi lang alam ng mga people here for variants. Yeah. Ayan. Okay. Okay.
Meron isang last na hindi na to for UI work. Pero dati kasi pag nagpa-plan mga bahay, ang dami architect ng mga rooms sa bahay, ganyan. I've been wanting to create a community file na may mga pre-made standard size furniture, pero I never got to do it. And kahapon nakita ko to or kanina lang yata, itong share ko na link na from the community na may partner si Figma with this company na room planner, ganyan. Zumper, I don't know how to pronounce that. But it has pre-made furnitures para para makapag-planning ng room. So sa mga nag-home improvement dyan habang naka-quarantine, this can be useful.
Oh, okay. That's super cool.
I never got around to finishing my version of this kasi before. So, ayan.
I was able to find I'm not sure if that's the same file that I used, Ren, because I grabbed one from the community, and parang because of that, I figured I should place that cabinet there. As in, iniisip ko talaga with Figma, like I had different versions of my room. So, useful, very.
I had to make that on my own back then. Like that was 2 years ago. And yeah, buti na meron na siyang ganito. Yeah, not that I'm relaying out my room or anything.
Yeah. Parang AutoCAD. Grabe. Ginagawa na talaga nila lahat. Oh, and I guess for updates related to FigJam, you can import links now, I think, as far as I know. Pero FigJam lang. I don't know when. I hope they put it in Figma. Kasi in Figma, you can also do cursor chat din naman. So, just those things lang na baka you missed, like things that are helpful, like to make use. yeah, may video embed na rin yung sa FigJam. So, nagiging full-fledged um, product na rin, separate product na rin in itself si FigJam. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they bring the video embedded in Figma. That would be
Yeah.
really helpful. Yeah. Okay, so does anyone want to share more tips? Yeah, because I think we're good.
Yeah. Like anyone from the audience can just go on ahead and share. Kahit ano ba man yan, like kung may ginagawa ka lagi tapos you just want to share,
Mm-mm.
uh feel free to share. Do not be shy. We're all here to learn. Gahanap lang din ako ng mga parang like habang naghihintay lang din if ever anyone else wants to go up.
But people are shy. People are still shy. Still shy. Let's go ahead.
Or pagod.
Baka pagod.
Actually,
Yeah, it's a Friday.
sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
Friday.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I mean,
Ah,
ano lang naman
Less na
din.
sila.
Pura naman yung pagod kanina. Ngayon lang na mention. Hopefully everyone is having a good Friday.
Yeah. Ano pa ba? Nagtitingin na lang ako sa mga plugins ko. At kung ano yung mga ginagawa ko. Kasi lately, I haven't really been also like full on down deep into mockups. Kasi marami sa mga ginagawa ko lately have been just making sure everything is set, not necessarily doing the designs itself. So, hindi ko lang siya maalala now. Yeah. Export zip, GIF export, GIF export, Kaleido code, iOS export. Since walang preview si Figma ng fonts, I don't know. But the plugin Better Font Picker helped me a lot in making some of my typography art. Rip Helvetica, sabi ni Nico. Yeah, yung Better Font Picker. I hope it got better. I used to use that a lot din. Pero kasi, nung time na yon medyo mabagal din pa yung computer ko. So, namamatay lang in general siya na parang hindi siya maglo-load properly. Pero, ayun. I also have that, yung Better Font Picker. It's useful kasi nga wala si Figma nung mismong preview of the fonts. So, it's like you have to guess pa. And then it gets to a certain point na hindi mo na maintindihan yung word. Pero you just have to see the font pa rin for what it is. Ayan, naghang na naman yung Figma ko. So, yun pala. Hanggang ngayon, ganito pa rin naman siya. Pero kasi ang dami nga din naman ng fonts.
Pagod na rin daw. Char.
Oo. Sabi niya,
Let me have my
Friday
week.
naman.
Alright.
Ano pa ba?
Parang wala na mag-share.
Yeah.
Sa self-promotion ako na marami akong community files published that you may find useful sa mga project niyo.
Link mo yung profile
Link
mo.
mo,
sige.
Yeah.
Ano nga ba? Figma.com.
Sa community mismo. Tapos yung handle mo.
Tama ba yung link na yan? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yan. Yeah, follow.
And, may time. Pag may time, gawa-gawa. Mag-share din I encourage people din to share yung mga hacks ninyo sa project. Create sa example files and share it to the community kasi I'm sure someone will benefit sa files somewhere
I guess
somewhere in the world.
May naalala lang ako na I use. I guess just for one share lang ulit bigla. So, eto wait. Papakita ko lang. So, if you wanna be like prototypes are there and all, you can use that. Pero if you need if you don't have the time to do the prototypes or just set it up in something. Ito yung ginagamit ko lagi lately when we're doing it's not here. It's not in my personal. It's always in my ano pala. Ano ba yan? It's a plugin for generating arrows. This is like for making
Yeah.
flowchart.
Mm-mm.
It's not arrow flow or something. It's this one. It's this specific thing. This arrow auto. So this one is the one that's installed. Bakit hindi siya nagpapakita? So yeah. Copy this link. This is pretty useful. Kasi for example, sabihin na natin arrow auto. Come on. It's not showing
No.
up. Oh my
Maybe
god.
refresh.
Ito ba yung helpful for parang last minute presentation mo
Oo.
prototype.
Yeah.
Parang
Kasi
one click
hindi ko Yeah, so
automatic na.
ito.
Yeah.
Yeah, tapos ang kailangan lang kasi is nakabukas siya pag
Mm-mm.
pag inaayos mo yung arrows. Pero kapag tapos na, you can just
Yeah.
close it tapos it's there. So at least kasi for the it's helpful for people who don't have the time to like set up the prototype or hindi kasama sa workflow ninyo yung gumawa ng prototype but you still
Mm-mm.
need to demonstrate where things are going. So
Yeah.
it has a directional up and down as well. Tapos pwede din siyang dotted. Tapos it just auto-adjusts talaga. Basta naka-open lang yung plugin. Tapos what it does kasi is it adds its own component or its own parang it draws on the file for you automatically. Tapos it's a group of arrows lang na napapakita. So wala lang. It's just a simple. It's so weird that this is by Shopee Singapore, but it's just Shopee simple arrow like plugin na gamit na gamit. Yeah. Yun lang. Hindi ko mapakita. I'm sad. Hindi ko alam bakit hindi siya nagpapakita sa personal ko. Sa personal account ko. Ayan. Okay.
All right.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good as well. Yeah. Ready your cards. Ayan. So, to end, I guess, we can end this short because, well, unless, like, last call for anyone who would like to share their own things. Pero, we'll wait until, like, 8:40 or 8:42.
Okay, for
5 minutes. Parang, ano lang naman, mga ganun lang, mga simple things lang na mga i-share nyo ng mga bagay-bagay. Pwede ninyong i-quickly pakita lang dito during Tapos parang it's recorded din naman. So, we can go back to it. Tapos mababalikan lang natin. Tingnan mo mga pinaggagawa natin dito. Hirap na hirap tayo. Double click, double click. Ito ngayon, isang click na lang. Joke. When I come in the future, wag ganun, diba? Babalikan natin. Nag-Figma wrap ulit. Assuming that we do it again.
meron pa yung nakitang plugin na games.
Games? Tetris actually. Yeah. Tapos yung Connect 4. Before, when the community files got introduced, someone made a Figma Connect 4. And then now that we have FigJam, and then we have plugins in FigJam, they ported it into FigJam instead. So now you can create, like Connect 4 sa FigJam. Pero same lang din yung concept. It's just, it's trust, parang you have to make gravity work for you. So ikaw dapat yung maglalagay dun sa baba. And then after na nung lalagay dun sa taas. So, yun yung
Flappy Bird daw.
may Flappy Bird. Yeah, may Flappy Bird din. I think sa FigJam, 'di ba, Polly? Di ko din normally binubuksan ko na kasi yung FigJam na kasi minsan mabagal lang din yung computer ko. It's also another hog in memory. Yeah, I didn't work for 30 minutes when I found it. Mood widgets. Yeah. Meetings, planning. Yeah, may dice din sa FigJam. So you can actually, ang dami ng things. There's tic-tac-toe.
Meron yata
Ayun, yung
nakita
Connect
dati
4.
na parang Monopoly style game.
Monopoly?
I'm not sure. Maybe my memories.
Tapos yung dice,
Remember.
parang yung dice, diba? It's kind of like a generator na siya.
Yeah. Oh, buti naman may calendar na rin. Oh, ang daming widgets. Grabe. Plugins. May isa din where you open a Pokemon trading card pack. What? Link preview, video cover, start, Figma chat. Okay. Yeah. Wala akong masyadong ma-share sa FigJam right now na hindi na already alam ng mga people kasi I don't use it as often as I should. Kasi lahat ng work namin nasa Figma lately. Yeah. But yeah, there's just so many things that we can do with this. And you can also like share your own. Kasi, for example, sinabi ni Andrew din kanina, diba, na parang he has his own community files, like mga things lang ba na ginagamit, like baka lang magamit ng iba. I also made use of that for YouTube thumbnails. Gumawa din ako ng file for it. And people still like duplicate it to this day. Even though I personally think it could use a bit like a kasi I did that like last year kung kailan ba man. Basta matagal na. Parang gusto ko na siyang ayusin. Pero wala lang akong oras ngayon. But
Yung
yeah,
community
that's...
file ko na least activity yung ina-expect ko was my Samsung Galaxy Fold device frame. Yung first gen Samsung Galaxy Fold. Pero until the last week, meron pa rin nagdo-duplicate. So you'll never really know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some, like, if you're using it, someone will also probably be using it. Or at the very least, like, look into it and then duplicate and then see it for yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Yun.
So yung sa akin yung ano yung resume na template.
Ayun, resume is also pretty nice to like set up in Figma. Kasi lalo na if you export it to PDF, if you need to PDF it, at least it's there.
Yeah,
Nakaayos na yung mga things.
Yep.
Then it will translate to the PDF you export.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's time to wrap Figma Wrap 2021.
Yeah, to wrap natapos na yung pagbukas natin ng mga gifts. Maglilinis na tayo ng wrapper.
Oo. Wrap up.
Mag-wrap up na tayo, friends. My God, all of
For
the
the
puns.
year, yes.
Yeah, and wrap up for this event and also technically wrap up for the year for Friends of Figma Philippines for our events for 2021. So, any last words from, or like any parting words from our other friends here on stage right now? There. Go, Jelvin.
Ayun. So again, it's a Friday night. Everyone, I think, is tired. Or for those people who haven't eaten yet, go ahead and just munch. You deserve it. Yeah. So once again, thank you, folks, for spending your time with us. This is like the last event for the year, and we're expecting, hopefully we can do more next year so that we can like further help the community. And if you have any topics that you have in mind, just go ahead and join in the Facebook group. It's facebook.com/group/FOF Philippines. There's also a Facebook page that we have, and we constantly share our updates there as well. So it's FOF Philippines. Yeah. And if you are more active on Twitter, you can give us a DM or you can like at us at FOF_Philippines. And once again, thank you. Thanks for your time. And I'm hoping that the things that we've shared today are helpful and maybe you can use it in your workflow. So yeah, cool. And that's a wrap for Wrap
YouTube.
Yes, so
Yeah.
this video is recorded.
Yes, and will be posted on YouTube. So, yes. Hi, YouTube! Nasa YouTube kami, ma'am.
Mom, I'm famous. I'm famous.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Hope you have a good rest.
Holidays.
Yeah.
Pahinga.
Pahinga,
Recover.
friends. Okay. Sige. We will be ending this na.